Howdy, and welcome to another episode of Postcard from Morehead. I'm Larry Dixon, and what are we doing today? We are doing black-eyed peas and collard greens. So, now, to start this recipe off, a couple of days ago, as you can see here, I went ahead and took my turkey leg and I put it in my Dutch oven, smothered it in chicken broth, and let it simmer for about 2 hours, and the meat just fell off of the bone. It was just perfect. So what's the other ingredients? As you can see, I'm gonna have to chop up my turkey leg a little bit finer. I've got green pepper, cowboy candy jalapeños, garlic, Worcestershire sauce, bay leaves, Creole seasoning. I'm going to use about 6 cups, which would be 1.5 boxes of chicken broth. And here's my collard greens. And you'll see a lot of videos where they take the collard greens and they de-stem them and cut them up. If you go over in the veggie section, I got these collard greens right here. They're already de-stemmed, triple washed, ready to go in the pot. Talk about saving a lot of time and a lot of labor. So one of the things that I do need to do is rinse my black-eyed peas. These black-eyed peas have soaked overnight, and the liquid in there is a little dingy. So I'm going to rinse them really good until that water runs clear. Well, the water looks like it's starting to run clear. I'm going to transfer it into my cooker. There we go. Set that to the side. The next thing I'm going to do before we get started, I'm going to chop up. Well, I'm going to go ahead and add my chicken broth. And the recipe calls for 6 cups, which is 1.5 boxes. I may end up needing some more the way I'm going to do this recipe. You could use water in your black-eyed peas, but man, this chicken broth is so much more flavor. That's about 1.5 boxes in there. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add my Creole seasoning, and this is, I used 2 tablespoons. You could use 3, but I'm going to go with 2 tablespoons of Creole Kick. Going to mix that in there. I'm going to add 2 bay leaves. We'll fish those out a little bit later. 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. I really like the flavor of Worcestershire sauce. Now the recipe calls for 1 jalapeno de-seeded. So I'm using cowboy candy, and I'm using about 3 or 4 slices of cowboy candy, and the seeds are in it. So that's going to give it a little extra kick. Set that to the side. And let's see, what else have I got here? It calls for green pepper. This is a whole lot of green pepper. I'm going to put a couple of handfuls. Put it all in there. Now this is about a 1-pound turkey leg. And as I said, I did the turkey leg a couple of days ago, so it simmered in that chicken broth for a couple of hours, and it is really tender, but I need to chop it up into smaller pieces. Now this ulu knife that I got here, I actually got that when I was in Alaska. Man, that is one handy piece of equipment. They call it an ulu knife. So since that's what they call it, that's what I'm going to call it. I've got my turkey leg chopped up, And that's in the size that I want. Lenore probably would want it a little bit smaller, but I think that's going to be pretty good. I'm going to add that to the pot, mix it all up. And I've got one other item that I need to add to this pot of black-eyed peas, and that is my celery. One stalk of celery. Finely chopped, it says. But Lenore thinks I don't get them chopped up thin enough, so I'm going to do it her way today. So I'm going to chop the onion up as pretty fine, at least looks fine to me. Put that in the pot. I'm going to give it a stir, add a little more onion here to it. Now, the last ingredient that I'm putting in this is my garlic. It called for 6 garlic cloves. I'm not going with that much. Neither Lenore or I are that big a fan of garlic, so I'm going to use just 4. I'm going to kind of cut these up a little bit. There we go. I'm going to bring this to a boil, and then I'm going to add my collard greens. So we'll be right back when this comes to a boil. Well, my pot is hot, and the next thing I'm going to put in there is a couple of handfuls of collard greens and let it boil or simmer for 2 hours or until it reaches a texture that I like. In the meantime, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and follow me. Follow this channel, Postcard from Morehead, because I'm Larry Dixon, and I do so appreciate all of the viewers. Especially, I really like those that have regularly make comments and so forth and give me ideas of what goes next on Postcard from Morehead. Also, I have posted a few travel videos. If you haven't seen those, when I went on vacation in New Orleans, I encourage you to check that out. I've got one coming up about cemeteries, and I think you'll find that real interesting. At this point, I am going to add some collard greens, and it may take a couple of hours for this to boil down. And that's okay, because this is going to be an amazing pot of black-eyed peas and collard greens. What do you think? Do I need to add some more greens? I think so. We've got room. And once these steam down, I can add the rest of the bag, or I can look at how much is in there and say, that's about right. A couple of hours or so, or when it reaches the texture that I like, we'll come back and we'll finish up black-eyed peas and collard greens. It is time to check our black-eyed peas and greens. They've been a hard simmer for an hour. So let's check it out and see how close we are to a texture that we like. Not quite there yet. Some of my liquid has simmered away. I'm going to have to add just a little bit more chicken broth to this. So rather than slowing down my simmer, I'm going to warm my chicken broth up in the microwave. That's about perfect. Give it a stir, make sure nothing is sticking to the bottom. I think I need to add just a little bit more chicken broth to this. Adding those greens to this recipe, I think is causing me to have to use a little extra chicken broth. Definitely another hour. Put the lid back on. I'm going to set the timer for 1 hour. Occasionally I come in and check it to make sure nothing is sticking and burning at the bottom. I'm going to set the timer for another hour, and I think we will be ready for black-eyed peas and greens. Our black-eyed peas and greens are done. Took about 2 hours and 40 minutes to get it done. I had to keep adding chicken broth as it simmered away. I had it at a fairly hard simmer. And Lenore has made cornbread to go with our black-eyed peas and greens. So it's time for the taste test. Put this over here. This is Lenore's bowl. Oop, there's a bay leaf. We don't want that. Put that right there. It is hot. The first bite doesn't taste like it's got any spice in it.
It's got spice.
It's got spice in it. It's got a lot of flavor to it. Lenore had her taste test. She gave it a thumbs up. I'm going to check this out. That is right real tasty. I'm going to have another bite, Lenore. So don't forget to hit that like, follow, and subscribe button. This has been Larry Dixon, postcard from Morehead, with my favorite taste tester, Lenore. See you down the road. Bye now.